Hi, guys. I'm going to take you guys on a journey today of an app I built called Resolve ReInvent. It's an AI powered self help companion and platform for mental well being, mental wellness, advanced mood tracking, journaling, AI insights, and conversations. And there's a host of other features that I think you guys will like. I'm also going to talk later about why I built it. The core of Resolve ReInvent is to reflect, resolve, and reinvent. And I found that other applications didn't really have that full life cycle and feedback loop in terms of everything that I needed to see in an application. I thought it would be a good challenge to build a full end-to-end application from vision to execution, which is part of my founder story and my first consumer SaaS application. So you can find us at getresolveai.app. You can also download the app from the App Store and Google Play, and you can launch the app on the web. And we're going to go into all the features today, but rather than just walk you through like a web page, I wanted to just show you the app in terms of the iOS simulator that I have running here. So your landing page, your home screen comes up, and I have a demo user right here. And the demo user is Aaron. And Aaron, I just have the first name for now. You can use your date of birth. You can specify a gender if you want, your date of birth, your favorite color, what type of subscription you're on. And then there's some privacy settings that are turned off by default, but you have community visibility, whether or not you want to share information to your community. Because that's one of the major impacts or features of the app, is to be able to share, to vent to your community, to also have a private spaces for you and your family and your doctors, if you will, to communicate. So as a private message space for you and your loved ones, but also just getting help from your community. And we'll get into that later. Whether or not you want to turn on direct invites and whether or not you want to show your avatar. So from the beginning, it's very private and secure. The application on the front end is a cross-platform mobile application that runs again on iOS, Android, and the web, but the backend is a very powerful, secure AWS backend. Won't get into the architecture today, but I wanted to talk about the features. So at a glance, when you first see the homepage, you see the current date and time and weather. Again, this is a demo user, so this is kind of not real data. It's not my data. So Aaron here might want to check in and say how they're feeling, so they can check, I'm feeling great today. Then you can have up to 7 different levels of secondary factors, like your energy and vitality, your anxiety, whether or not you are upset or anger, you're peaceful, your confidence and self-worth. How are you feeling about yourself today? And this gives you just another granularity of how you're feeling that day and a given mood level. And the mood levels are just tracked. I'll save this. And once you enter the note, you can optionally share that with your community if you want. And then you can save your mood. So that's your mood tracking, where then you can look at all your stats and how you're doing. And you can see for this user, it's kind of up and down because there's a lot of test data, but you can see your daily mood levels by week, by month. You can then look at just your energy levels if you want, or your anxiety. You can also see just a mood evolution of how you're doing and kind of click back into different dates and times where you had mood information that you actually logged. And that information is just used as a daily check-in, right? And then it'll log that information to the community of how you're doing. And we'll show you that later. And that's important because later we're going to get into AI-powered insights, which is really key. The next thing I want to show you, and then you have your stats here as well. So your stats for your mood, I just showed you. You can look at your history of all your check-ins, right? And then you can see the radar graph that we just showed you right on the dashboard. And I'll also note we do have various themes. So you can use light mode, dark mode. There's there's various dark mode themes that are out there. I like dark mode as default because I think users are primarily using a lot of these things at night, and maybe you're getting ready for bed, or the lights are low and you want a calm environment. You don't necessarily want a white screen like blaring you in the face. Then you get into journaling, right? So I have the number of journal items I have here for this user, for Aaron. So Aaron had a little bit of a work-life friction there. My schedule keeps bleeding into my evenings, and I'm noticing how much this affects my sleep. So one of the cool things about all the journals is they're all here, and you can add a new voice journal. This is the iOS simulator, and it doesn't really do well with the microphone. So what I'll do is I'll just type in a journal here, like, I'm doing great today, recording a video for Resolve ReInvent, and how all the features work together, and especially the AI powered insights, right? So I could potentially spell a word wrong and then save that, and it'll process that and it will record that to the back end. Kind of another powerful feature of the voice journaling, or just journaling in general, is just, let's say you're dealing with a coworker, or a boss, or you're just trying to remember what you needed to buy at the grocery store, or things you need to do around the house, right? I could put in here a reminder. I need to power wash the house by the end of the week, because we have company over for a party. So I can just set myself little reminders, and then later we can show you how you can use powerful insights to grab that information. So here's the recording. Here's the journal item I just entered, corrected for grammar, spelling. Not that it needed it, but when you're on the road and voice journaling, maybe when you're parked in your car, sitting somewhere waiting for somebody, your voice journaling, you don't really have a lot of time to spell check and create titles. This will automatically infer everything you're doing and create a title for you. So that's the journaling feature. And it tells you how you're doing. Aaron has 61 entries in 0 hours ago. And then there's chat metrics, which is another powerful feature of the app. So from there, we might go into some of the insights. This is kind of powerful feature of the app that I built, where there's so insights are basically AI powered, and depending on the insight, there's various mood context, journal context, your location, even your recovery, and caregiver support are all injected into the back end insights, where AI can help you resolve some of these things. So then there's various categories, right? We talked about. So you have emotional support, like you might want to give yourself a grace note for how you're doing, right? All the workload that you're carrying. There might be goal setting insights for my goals for this year. What do I need to work on from a work-life balance? What's your scorecard and your progress, things like that. Lifestyle, like, give me some coffee for my mood, or find community centers near me, or find cat cafes, coffee shops, libraries. All these things are more about lifestyle things, like things near me that might be interested. Keep yourself busy. And again, if you think about it from an aspect of people struggling with mental health and wellness, you want to make sure that you use these tools to find avenues for yourself to reach out and do stuff in your community to keep people connected. Because we find that people that are connected and not isolated, they're better off, right? So finding things near you, connecting with people near you. Then we get into mindfulness, right? Mindfulness centers near me, personalized quotes for the day. You've all seen these apps, but a lot of what Resolve ReInvent does is we put these into insights that can grow over time. We can add more. So you don't necessarily need to download another application. Those insights are available to you um, immediately for all users when we put those out there. Nutrition, like find healthy food choices near me. These are location based insights, or I'm in the mood for tea or food recipes, things like that. Productivity, daily reminders, three actions to resolve today. And then we can kind of run some of these. I'll run through one of them for you. Finding therapists near me. What does your color say about you? Relationships. Interpret my dreams. You can do bedtime stories. I know some of the leading apps do stories. The way I built stories into Resolve is it's an insight. So if you want a story, and I'll show you one later that I built that I added to help you sleep, I can have the AI create a story for me, and then I can read to me. Or if you're putting a kid to bed, you can read to that your child and put your child to sleep. Let's say you need a 5 to 10 minute child story for your child, and maybe he's a hockey player and he wants a hockey story. You can just tell AI that you want a hockey story. So we'll get into that as well. Then there's self-care. There's analyze my journal entries, life balance support, things like that. And the way these show up is when you run them, let's just say we want to analyze my, I won't do health and fitness, but for stress, this would be like a stress spike replay. Replays your most stressful moments, identifying triggers. So when I run this insight, the AI is going to run, and then it's going to create a conversation, much like you have done and used these with some of the tools like ChatGPT and other tools. But the beauty about Resolve ReInvent is all these conversations are stored for you securely. Nobody else can read them. And you can come back to them and you can ask questions, and you have that context. So for this stress spike replay, we won't go into it too much, but this is the chat feature of the application where it talks about episode 1, the rush before work feels worse than it needs to be. The trigger, what your mind started predicting, the body signals, what you did, what actually happened next time, stuff like that. And then it talks about episode 2, work life friction is still there. The urge to overeat after work. And then one step at a time, maybe it gives you some ideas for next steps that you need to do. So in here, you can ask questions. You can have it read to you if you're traveling or on a train, have it just read to you. You can do that. You can also set a guided, balanced, or expert mode for the AI. So the insights can either be guided, meaning it's going to ask you a series of questions and lead you up to where it wants to go. It's almost like, think of it as basic mode. Then there's balanced, which is a default, which is I'm going to try to balance a conversation that I think you need to hear without giving you too much information. Like this is pretty much a balanced information of the stress spike replay that we just did. And then there's the expert mode. If you're turning on expert mode, it might go into things like cognitive behavioral therapy or DBT or other tools that I'm not an expert in, but it'll give you those tools and self-help tools where you can elaborate or explore those on your own. But then I want to preface by you should be doing those with your therapist. So this tool by itself, Resolve ReInvent by itself, is a good AI-powered self-help tool, but it should be used in conjunction, right, with finding professional care. And that's where we have like find therapists near me is an insight where you can look up doctors and really home in on the type of anxiety or marriage counseling or work stress or just relationships or children. You can really get into those various therapists that you need for your particular challenge that you're facing. When you go into the chat page, it has, again, all the chats that you had. You can bring them back up. You can continue the conversation. You can rename them. You can delete them. And then just for an example, I had analyzed journal entry that I did earlier today for Aaron. And it's going to talk about like analyzing the journal over the past 30 days or 60 or 90 days, um, telling you kind of the patterns that it sees, right? Um, and another one that I ran was like a bedtime story. Um, I told it to, this story is for me. It's not for my child. Like it asks you right up front, like, tell me a child's name, what they love, and anything you want to have in the story. In this case, I said, this story is for me to help me fall asleep. Tell me the story about the Trojan War and the horse and the story of the Odyssey and the historical accurate characters leading up to the Trojan horse, ideas and outcomes. The outcome uh, described in great detail, right? So this gives me a nice 5 to 10 minute story that you can read or have it read to you out loud by hitting the voice button down here. I'm not sure if this application you'll hear the voice, but
The gentle tale of the wooden horse and a long way home. Long ago, across a wide, blue sea, there were two cities who could not agree. One was called Troy, a city of warm sunflowers and tall, friendly walls, and the other was a band of sailors and kings from many islands who missed a queen named Helen. People tell many stories about why they argued, but this is a
and then you can also choose in this mode, obviously iOS and Android, much better voices, but in the web, you can choose different voices from different countries and change the speech rate and pitch. That's really for advanced users. Won't go into that too much. But if you look at things like when we analyze your journal really quick, you can just hit that button to do a quick analyze my journal. And then you can ask it questions about your journal, right? So let's say I'm struggling with work or people, or just things that I forgot I need to do. And I can ask it a question like, remind me again what I needed to do around the house this weekend. And just hit enter and let the chat analyze my journal, right? And this is just my journal. It's not going to be my moods, right? And then it will just tell me, you mentioned the power wash reminder on August 15th, which is today, right? So weekend plan, blah, blah, blah. And then it tells you what to do. Or I can just say, give me a short bulleted list instead. Like that's too much information. I just want a list, right? So you can talk to it and tell it kind of what you need. So power wash the house, quick Friday, declutter, deep, tidy white exterior dries, yard porch, prep guest spaces, right? So this is all because it thinks I'm having a party. But basically the power wash house is what we used as an example. But if you're struggling, again, not struggling, but if you're managing work-life stress or, other things, that's where the insights and the chat really becomes powerful. And again, we're not going to go into all of these insights, but there's a lot of really cool insights that I hope you guys can take advantage of out here. And just to show you the web space here, the mood tracking, we talked about voice chat, Resolve, Care Circle, private spaces. So the next thing I want to jump into is spaces. And this is where the community part of the application really becomes important and powerful. And I'm not sure how other applications either have this or they do it. There used to be a product called Vent that people liked, but it became kind of overwhelming and it kind of became this application where people would just throw bad stuff out there and it was overwhelming and it's kind of not really a good mental health strategy. But where like Resolve ReInvent comes into play. So So I want to show you the spaces in terms of there's two parts to spaces. There's community spaces that you can find out there and you can join and favorite. So you can see Aaron has joined and created two favorites, venting for just everyday venting about problems. Maybe he's just mad at something. And then the community can respond back and say, yeah, sorry, that's a bummer. Or getting into community, the community chat is basically a one stop shopping for all of the community events, like who's joining and who's reflecting today and what they reflect on. So anytime you do a mood and you say, I would like to share this to the community, or you're doing a check-in for, I'll show you some of these recovery, anything that you actually want to share to the community will go to the community chat. So if you click on here and you've joined the chat, you can see, congratulations, demo user, you've earned the first chat badge, or Aaron is feeling, this is what we did this morning. Aaron is feeling amazing today. Awesome. Good job. And people can respond to that to you on here as well. And you can see this is a public chat. Of course, this is a development environment. So, it's not live data, but there's other chats that we created for people. So stress and burnout, mental health, peer support, substance use and recovery, tech support for the app, caregiver support, right? Family caregiver support, grief and loss. These are all the various community spaces. And then if you wanted to create a private space for you, and in this case, this demo user created one for just Maya, and Maya is the person they're caring for. And so if you click on that, you'd be talking only with people that are invited. And this is Aaron is in this space, but I can invite other people if they have direct invites turned on. So this is an area where you can invite users to your spaces. And these are private. And then you can favorite those, right? So you can go back to your spaces and then come back and see what your favorites are. So the favorites will always be shown on your spaces page when you come to that page. And here's the favorites that we favorited. So that's a really powerful part of the communication, reaching out community, and then the private aspect of it, right? So private spaces, if you want to share it with your therapist, your loved ones, so you can talk about events during the day and have that track record or audit trail, I guess, or just it's not going to be it's on your phone, but it's not going to be part of your phone messages. So you can declutter. You can kind of use this private spaces to declutter your everyday messages and separate that. Let's say you just want to have a space between you, your daughter, and maybe, your spouse, or another loved one, that you just want to have that a private space without everybody seeing your messages. So if somebody, picked up your phone and they're looking at your messages, they would see a lot of private stuff in there. So looking at some of the other aspects of the app, there's a whole lot more detail in here. In the more section, one of the things that's just common is like breathing exercises. We've created breathing exercises for stress, energy, and anxiety. So you click in and you can start your breathing exercises. And a lot of people find this useful just to relax during the day or to take a break from an anxiety event, and so on and so forth. And then you will get badges based on the various breathing exercises you did. Another thing that I really love about the app, because if I travel, when I go on golf trips or I travel, I don't necessarily always have like a sound machine with me. So one of the favorite things that I like to use is the ambient sound. It's like a brown noise. And then when you fire it up, it'll download it to your device and then it'll cache it there for 30 days. So you won't have to wait for it every day. And then it'll play, it'll play that sound for you. Um, and this is the ambient noise, actually. This isn't the, I don't know if you guys can hear that. This is an ambient noise. I like the brown noise. There's rainforest, relaxing. There's all different kinds of sounds in here that you can listen to. Um, Another one that's kind of really big is that we added recently. If you go to your homepage, there's a couple things that you'll see at the top. You'll see icon for your fitness. So I recently added ability to talk to your Apple Watch and your health kit. So we've integrated with Apple Health. I can't show you that in the simulator right now, but you're able to connect and see all of your all the things that you can track in your Apple Watch. So your steps, your heart rate, your weight, your BMI, and everything. And then you can set goals for all that stuff. Maybe in a future video, I can show that integration. Another important feature we added was you slide to the left, you can see your wellness and recovery dashboard. In this case, Aaron is tracking two things that he needs to worry about, and it's food and eating, and then shopping, right? Just as an example. So the emotional eating, this tracks that, for 6 months, 2 days strong, he's doing a nice food and eating renewal, recovering renewal tracking, so that you can check in and you can say whether or not you stuck to your plan, or I had urges or a small slip up, right? Or I had a binge episode, right? And then you can comment on what happened, how did it affect you, and stuff like that. And then you can check in. You can just say, I had urges, but I stuck to my plan, right? And it gives you an update in terms of how many days strong, what your next milestone would be, right? And things like that. And then the beauty of this is the ability to add a new, like if you go to your wellness and recovery, you can add a new item that you want to track. Let's say you're struggling with alcohol and you want to just have general alcohol use, and you wanted to say, when you want to start your journey. Let's say you're just using the app, but you've been sober since 2022. You can start this in 2022 and say, because you don't want to, be discredited for that, right? So you don't want it to count against you. But let's say you've been sober since 2022 and you're struggling with alcohol. Now I have 4 years strong of alcohol abuse, and I can check in on a daily basis and say, I'm completely sober. I can say, like, I am sticking to my goal today and very important to me. And I went to a meeting last night. And then I can share this to the community and I can submit that check-in. And again, when we share to the community, that particular event will get logged out to the community spaces because I allowed it, right? I want people to see that. And it will show up eventually. Right now, what's happening in the background is the AI is moderating the community notes, so people just can't type whatever. And I want to make sure we really stress that the safety and efficacy of the app. I have very important guardrails on AI in terms of what it can do and what it's designed to do. And also, well, with that is also making sure everywhere in the app that anyone that's typing in free context information, right, will be flagged and will be taken down if it's not safe for use, or if it's hate speech, or any type of other activity that's not, in line with the mental and well-being. And that can change, on a month-to-month basis or whatever. We need to make changes to that. And myself and others as administrators can also approve and reject and take down users and you can report abuse as well. You can report abuse and that will show up on an admin's dashboard. And I want to make sure people know that I've taken every precaution in terms of hate speech, bad speech, negative speech. But it's still useful to be able to say, like, I had a really bad day today, you know, and say, why they were angry. That's still allowed, right? But you can't say that I want to kill somebody, or I can't say, um, that you want to inflict harm on others. So that's not allowed, and that will be flagged. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that. So you can see here that Lotus is the actual bot that we have in the app that says Aaron checked in, alcohol 4 years strong, keep it up. And then because I shared that note with my community, it says I'm sticking to my goal, very important to me. And I went to a meeting last night. So people can come in here, other users can come in and say, good job, congratulations, do a heart. These are all the emojis that you get, right? Good job out there. And then other people will chime in, right? And another and kind of an important or cool thing about the community chat is, let's say you're in here, and again, you can't really directly type in here. You can just reply to somebody, right? So I could actually make a reply in here. All right, maybe I just go over to the vent page and I can see up here that, like, this person was struggling, and then this person, Aaron, said, I'm so tired, right? And if you respond to our bot within the app, it will give you a response. You can talk to the bot in the community spaces, and just like you can respond to your chat and talk with AI. So the bot is a good way to just talk to the bot when you're in any of these community spaces that allow you to just type in free form text. Like in the event space, I can say, I'm really tired today. And I have a sore throat. And I could say, Lotus, what do you recommend for a tea for my throat, right? And question mark. And Lotus will. So what I talked about earlier was one important feature is this moderation right now, or sorry, this message right now is being currently moderated by AI. And if it had to go through admins, it would. And if it had to get flagged, it would tell you immediately. Other people can't see this message right now. Only I can see it because I typed it. And then in a few, depending on this environment right now, we're in a dev environment that's not, because it costs money to run faster. It's not very fast. So Lotus, I got an alert that said Lotus vented an vent for me. And then here's the actual answer. And then it said, Lotus, you're feeling crummy. Sorry, you're feeling crummy. Try soothing ginger lemon tea. And it tells you, how to make that. And then also in the insights, you can also, one kind of cool feature that I built is you can say, I'm in the mood for tea. And you can search for that. You could run that insight and say, give me the teas based on my mood. Tell me what type of tea I should try. So that's kind of interesting from an insight standpoint. Again, from a struggling with mental wellness and things like that, you want to wake up and you want to, like, try to get yourself going. You want to, like, reach out to either your community or your insights, and you want to start your day off and you want to just kind of know, give me some structure. I need structure. So I'm in the mood for tea, but tell me exactly what I should try. Maybe I'll go down to the store if I can easily get it, or if I can make it, or choose one from here that at least it gives me something that I can focus on, that I can kind of go on to the next part of my day. So here's different types of teas that it gave me. Another insight might be, let's see, a grace note. I want a supportive check-in that just gives me credit for what I'm doing and all the stuff that Aaron is doing in his work and life. A grace note just gives you a um, kind of acknowledgement from the AI, what you're hearing, what you've been carrying, the weight, the strengths, keeping showing up. It's hard, a gentle reframe, and then next steps. So you can continue to have a conversation with the AI in terms of what are the types of things that you need to do. Um, and then you can click on various tags um, to find other areas, other things that are interesting to search for in the app in terms of all the insights, because there's 48 powered insights um, that people are going to be interested in. Another one is just fun and playful, would be like interpret my dream. You can come in here and ask it to analyze a dream that you had last night, which is very powerful for some people. It gives them great insights into what they're struggling with. There's a constant dream that keeps happening. The Resolve ReInvent backend with all of its context can really help you try to analyze what's going on. At least give you some insights in terms of things to try, or some patterns that maybe have been documented in terms of why these things keep happening. Um, so we try to keep it fun and playful, but also serious. And that's where we try to close the loop. So we reflect through journaling and moods. We resolve things through insights and chats and community. And then we reinvent ourselves by checking in, right? Running through various goals that we need to do through our insights, finishing our goals, marking things completed in our journaling. And there's no special tools that you need to use to say, I'm finished with these things. All you do is journal. And the AI will tell you like what you did. Here's how you did. That's, the grace notes, the spike replays, the analyzing your journal, analyzing your mood. What are the steps that you should probably consider next? How do you find a therapist, right? Finding a provider near you, um, and other things. And then there's the other stuff for advanced things that we just added. We recently added caregiver support. So I'll go back to the homepage and you can see up here with this purple circle that I came up with a feature called Resolve ReInvent Care Circle. So Care Circle is an area where, in this case, Aaron has he's a caregiver for Maya, and you can add more than one person. So Maya, if I click on this, what AI will allow, or what Resolve ReInvent will allow Aaron to do, maybe in conjunction with his brothers and sisters. Maybe you're caring for a loved one, and you need to be able to check in every day. So you need to be able to check in and give notes like, how are they doing? Are they doing great? Doing well? As expected? Maybe type in a note like, I went to see Maya today, and she is very tired and hungry. We need to get her some good food or something, right? And then you also have flags in terms of what's going on a little bit deeper into, is it a relapse, a medication issue, sleep? So this would be sleep issue. It's not a crisis, but it's basically appetite change and sleep issue. And then I save that check-in. And then the AI will give you a summary of how they're doing over the week or month, just in like bulleted form, paragraph form. You can see a graph of how they're doing. And then every check-in is recorded here with a color code in terms of how they're doing. And again, this is not real data. And then you can share this. You can actually share this as well with your loved ones. Copy and paste. You can copy and paste. Rerun. You can rerun the AI and have it reevaluate based on the new information that we put in. And then share that with your loved ones if you need to. So that's the Care Circle support. There's, like I said earlier, there's different themes where there's dark mode. You can choose from all these different various colors. So if you like various colors or you just want to keep it low key, you can do that as well. Like just the black and white is kind of cool. I think the default is ocean breeze or fresh clarity. Sorry. We talked about health, wellness and recovery, breathing exercises, soundscapes, right? And then the care circle. Those are all the other features. So we basically covered the entire app. And then you've got your dashboard here in terms of how you're doing again, and your journaling. The other thing I kind of showed you was there's notifications every day just to help you check in. You'll get a notification to your phone, your device that says, time to check in today. There's also, if you swipe to the right, you get a quick weekly reflection of how you're doing. You have 3 mood entries for the week, your average mood, number of journals, insights, community posts. Then you have your main dashboard. Then you swipe left again and you have your wellness and recovery dashboard that we showed you. Like again, we just added alcohol, food and spending. And it gives you like a countdown timer as well, just, so you can see all that. We went into some of the settings earlier, like you have all your privacy settings in here, your subscription status, right? And then when you first kind of get into the app, there's a guided path when you first sign up. This is the onboarding for the application. And it just gives you some statistics, right? 60% of the people in the worldwide engage in self-care routine, and they recognize the value of wellness in your daily life, right? And then let's begin our journey. So how are you feeling right now? Okay, good, low. You could say, okay, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm anxious. I would like help in terms of career maybe and direction and my just overall mental wellness, and then wellness and recovery. And then it tells you like, asks you, what is your biggest challenge right now? I'll just say life transitions. And then how often do you like to check in? I'll just say a few times a week right now, right? And then it'll ask you, do you want help with this? So this is the onboarding that you would go through. And the AI would just kind of go through those various pain points with you at the beginning, and then just give you a summary of what you might want to choose in the app to get through here. So reflection that we talked about already, the breathing tools and the insight cards and so on and so forth, right? So that's the product tour, if you will. But with that, I just want to kind of close by saying thank you for watching the product tour of Resolve ReInvent. I'm a software engineer, founder who has a passion in consumer SaaS and also enterprise SaaS applications. And I wanted to build an app that really fixed some of the problems that I've seen with other self-help tools, where it didn't close the loop for me in terms of all the features and drilling deep, if you will. So some of the apps out there you've seen might give you these canned daily exercises that after a while as a user of these apps, it's kind of boring. I wanted to create an app that's not boring. And so I use journaling all the time in terms of career, work, life, stress, food, everything, right? Finding stuff around me, events, right? So it's not just for people that are struggling. That's kind of first and foremost. But the idea of the reflection, the resolution with the AI powered insights, the community support, the ability to reach out to the community, join a support group is really powerful. And then lastly, the reinvention of coming back to what do I need to work on? How am I doing? Maybe a week over week, month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year basis. I think it's really powerful. I hope you guys try it. Leave me comments. Let me know what you're using. And if you stayed this long in the video and you want a free 1-year membership, please leave a comment and say you would like a free membership. So thank you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.